All right, so we are now going to talk about protein digestion or breaking down proteins. Proteins are strings of amino acids, and so they will be broken down initially through the mouth, through mastication. There aren't enzymes released. But I just want to mention that proteins are not a primary energy source. Carbohydrates and fats are primary sources of energy to fuel physical activity. Proteins can be used, they can be converted from, once they're broken down to amino acids, they can be converted to glucose, or they can be converted to free fatty acids to be used to produce ATP or energy. But that's not our primary thing. Amino acids are primarily structural, or they're used to produce protein, they're used to produce enzymes, hormones. That's their primary purpose. Digestion of protein begins in the mouth with chewing, and then the food is moved down to the stomach where it's churning, mixed with hydrochloric acid, and it just starts breaking apart those long chains of amino acids. In the small intestines, there are enzymes released called proteases, and those start to wear away or work away, dissolve the chemical bonds that are holding amino acids together. And so we will then have these shorter chains of amino acids. And then the peptidases, they will further break down into even shorter chains and of amino acids, and individual amino acids, by dissolving those bonds through the process of adding water. So that's all occurring in the small intestines until we have these very individualized amino acids that then will be absorbed and sent to the liver. So absorption does occur. It crosses that cell membrane in the small intestines, and it's primarily through facilitated diffusion. So there again, that's moving across the cell membrane through a protein channel, or using proteins, not using energy, or active transport, which energy is used with a protein transporter to move the amino acid into and across the cell membrane. Just as a note that the protein transporters are very specific to individual amino acids. So normally when we take amino acids into our diet, some of these amino acids will share protein transporters. Because we're taking in such a variety of amino acids, usually we have a fine availability of these protein transporters to move the amino acids. And just as a caution, when people take into their diet in a supplemental form one specific amino acid, it might tie up a protein transporter that's normally shared with another amino acid, and it might inhibit or deter the ability to absorb all the amino acids or move all those amino acids across the cell membrane. After proteins are absorbed, they are transported via the blood, and they become part of the amino acid pool. So the amino acid pool is not just the individual amino acids within the blood. It also includes the amino acids available in tissue. Protein can be used, these amino acids can be used to build proteins that we need for our body to function. Amino acids can be converted and to fat storage or glycogen storage, or they can be used for an energy supply. So to be used as energy, they have to be converted to a fat, or they have to be converted to glucose to be used for, if they're to be used for energy. And when we look at how protein is built, it occurs through very specific instructions for what amino acids have to are in what order they are in this chain of amino acids to build a protein. And so those instructions for each protein are within the nucleus of a cell, within the DNA. And on a segment of the DNA are specific genes for each individual protein. So when the body needs specific protein, the information on a gene is copied to what is called messenger RNA, and that process is called transcription. And messenger RNA then will leave the nucleus, and it will go to what are called the ribosomes. Now, the ribosomes are very specific organelles within the cell cytoplasm, or within the liquid portion of the cell, and that's where the proteins are built. And so the ribosomes will read this messenger RNA, or these instructions, which is translation. That is the process of translation, and it'll start building these amino acids. And so as it reads the instructions for what amino acids are necessary, there is what is called transfer RNA, and that delivers the specific amino acids that are necessary to build the protein. It brings those amino acids to the ribosomes. Now, if in the process of building a protein, an amino acid is not available, it will stop building it. And if it is a non-essential amino acid, which, if you remember, non-essential means that we can manufacture in our body. We don't have to get it in our diet. So as we're building this protein, if we come upon this one non-essential amino acid that is not available, your body will make it and then will continue building the protein. If it is an essential amino acid that is necessary, the building process of building that protein will stop, and what has already been built will be broken up, and the amino acids will be released into other tissue and made available for other proteins. So when it comes to the amino acid pool, there is a sharing of amino acids. So if one tissue needs a certain amino acid, it can be transferred from one tissue to another. But this cannot be sustained in the long term. There's a need for us to continually ingest essential amino acids so that they are available to build all proteins in our body. And lastly, the thing to talk about with absorption and transport are minerals, vitamins, and water. They are not broken down like the macronutrients in our body. They are primarily, most minerals are absorbed as well in the duodenum and the jejunum of the small intestines. The exceptions are sodium, potassium, and chloride, which I had mentioned before, are absorbed in the large intestines. Vitamins are categorized, as we mentioned earlier, as either water-soluble or fat-soluble. Water-soluble vitamins, they're just moved along through the digestive tract in the watery mix of food, and they're absorbed across the membrane, and they're transported, dissolved in the blood, transported via the blood to different areas of the body. So they move freely through the body. Any excess of water-soluble vitamins will then be eliminated from the body through our urine. But fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K, when they are broken down and released from our digested food, they are dissolved in the fatty portion as it moves through the GI tract. So they are transported on the within these kind of packages or globules of fat called mast cells, and they are moved through the intestinal wall with the other fats. And they are absorbed through this passive diffusion. So, with fat soluble vitamins, they are absorbed in the small intestines. The one vitamin is vitamin K, which is produced by bacteria acting on food in the large intestines, and so that's absorbed through the large intestines. So the fat soluble vitamins are like the fat that we referred to in the when we talked about triglycerides being broken up. They are packaged as these chylomicrons, and with other fats, and again with other fats that are transported via the lymph into the bloodstream. From there, they are delivered and used by cells, or they can be stored in fat tissue. And so you have to be cautious in taking fat soluble vitamins because it may result in high dosage of fat soluble vitamins stored in the body.